and welcome to another version of the Diversified Semantic Layer podcast. My name's Jamie Oswald, obviously. I'm joined by my mate, Clint Boslow.
Hi, everyone.
And our special guest today is Blair Wheadon from SAP. Blair, say hello.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
Good. I'm honoring us today with a glass of wine. I'll pour a little out for some of our tools we'll be talking about here shortly. But what we wanted to do was get together a little bit today and ahead of the BI&A conference that's coming up here in the States, talk a little bit about the SAP Analytics roadmap that just came out. So I know it came as a surprise to a lot of people with, some big news in there. So, some of the, and I'm going to paraphrase and then let Blair correct me all over the place. But basically the direction for investment, especially in the data discovery and exploration phase, is going to be in cloud for SAP, right? So that's the SAP Analytics Cloud. That's where most innovation and the lion's share of investment in that space is going to go. That means a couple of things, right? So that means that, the investments in the on-premise version, which is Lumiere Discovery, will ratchet back some. That ratcheting back will be phased in over time. So it's not that, you need to unplug it tomorrow and rewrite everything you've got. But just know that your investment in that will not grow. And there were some other tidbits in there that I think had been on the radar, but maybe hadn't come out and really stood out on this one. A couple that affect a lot of customers are the lack of, or the end of life for Flash support, right? So that means that dashboards and Explorer are things that are going to go away at the end of, I believe, 2020 or the end of 2019.
2020. Yeah.
And then 2020. And then also there are some dates for end of life for the platform itself. And we'll go into some details on that, but I'm hoping that we're going to come to the point where we talk about how we kick those out, not just turn off everything we've got. But we'll see. So first up, so that was, I think, most of the points that were in there. So with that, Blair, do you want to tell us a little bit more about where we are with cloud, why that's the path forward, and what you think that means for SAP Analytics customers?
Yeah. Thanks for that. That was a very good summarization, Jamie. So I'll just take a step back and provide a little bit of context, and share some of the thinking that went into this decision, right? And this decision definitely wasn't taken lightly, but it's something that we've been trending towards for a number of years now in terms of investment and focusing on in cloud-delivered software. So when we looked across the analytics portfolio, we looked at a couple things. We looked at the various use cases that are covered, because we always take a use case-based approach to these things. And in case you're wondering, okay, well, what use cases are you talking about? Well, there's four main ones, right? So there's data discovery, there's Office integration, there's reporting, and there's analytic applications and dashboards. So those are the four main use cases that we look at when we talk about business intelligence. So we looked at that, and we looked at a lot of the lead times that happened in on-premise software, right? So we started investing now in a major on-premise release. It'd probably be 18 months before it's released, and then another 12 months before it's really broadly deployed. So we're looking at 2.5 years before the investments today start to hit the market, okay, in any on-premise solution, right? So we asked ourselves, okay, what's the market going to look like 2.5 years from now in mid-2020, right? And we were trying to skate where the puck is going, to use a Canadian term. I'll explain that to you later, Clint.
Just paddle towards the waves, yeah.
Yeah. So, and when we looked at things from a use case based perspective, we were also looking at a couple other aspects. One was the degree of overlap between Lumira and SAP Analytics Cloud, and the second thing we were looking at is just the rate of innovation that's happened over the last year or so. And Analytics Cloud has certainly accelerated in terms of its rate of innovation and has matured really quite rapidly over the last 12 months. So all of those inputs were considered when we made this decision to focus on Analytics Cloud for the data discovery use case, right? And so this is why we really believe that this is the right decision, not just for SAP, but also for our customers and partners. And I think the initial reaction we get from a lot of customers and partners is, well, but I still have lots of my data on premise. And this is where some of the secret sauce in Analytics Cloud comes in, because even though it's a public cloud solution, it's hosted on the SAP Cloud Platform, it still has the ability to access on-premise data without replication. So it can actually issue queries from the JavaScript running in the browser on your side of the firewall, right? So this is very unique when it comes to cloud-based BI software, and it's something that a lot of customers aren't aware of. So I wanted to make sure that was understood by your listeners as we talk about the context of making this decision. So yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
Well, I was just going to say, so Clint, you're you've got that partner perspective. What are you hearing from your customers and other people in the ecosystem about this announcement?
Let's just say the customers are not overjoyed. There's been a mixed response, and it's been quite interesting. A lot of people, a lot of our customers are exceptionally frustrated, especially because a lot of them waited for Lumira 2 to come out, which was delayed quite dramatically. It was quite a buggy release, and we eventually got there. But after investing all that time, money to upgrade, and some other customers reinvested in the platform and licensing as late as the end of last year, only to be told that it's development's going to stop. You can see it from that point of view. They're pretty peed off, to be quite frank, because they have invested in the platform. One of the biggest concerns, and from my understanding, is there's obviously no interoperability or migration path between on-prem and cloud. So a lot of the other customers are saying, well, geez, I've spent 8-10 years building up this investment. How do I get it across if I want to stick with SAP? And to me, the dangerous part here as a partner, and I think Blair's heard me say this before with SAP, is what that suddenly puts you into is a mature battle with someone else. Because if there is no clear migration path, and I understand it's a completely separate, running on SAP's different infrastructure, but if customers literally have to rebuild from scratch, and I'm taking away the use case of leveraging off our university now, and just look at it that way. If you have to rebuild your content, that's going to put customers in a position to say, okay, well, let me look at the market and let me see what's out there. And of the customers that I have, 2 of them are already doing that, unfortunately, because they waited very long for Lumira Discovery to come out. Now, knowing the development stopping end of this year, they're saying, well, we'll keep our Webley and our Crystal, and we'll keep that going for our operational type reporting, which most people use it. But when it comes to data discovery, when it comes to a dashboarding tool, we're going to go look somewhere else. So that's the feedback we've got from customers now. But I mean, I know the paint's still drying on it. But it's as a partner, it's like, wow, we actually need to also look outside the SAP realm, because that's where our customers are going to go. Because, and another thing, a lot of government customers where at the moment cloud's not an option. Cloud's just, no. So, they're the ones who say it has to run on-prem for now.
Yeah.
Well, I think
so. Yeah, go ahead.
Blair.
No. Yeah, just wanted to respond to a few of the points there, and first off, just definitely want to empathize with the customer reaction. And yes, there has been a number of strategy and direction changes over the years when it comes to data discovery from SAP. So yeah, I totally understand the reaction of customers when it comes to that. And when it comes to investments and license investments in that, there's actually a very interesting program offered by SAP that can help customers to turn maintenance that they're paying on unused licenses and replace that maintenance stream with cloud subscription. So there's definitely a commercial program out there. It's called the Cloud Extension Policy, and that allows customers that, let's say you have 1,000 licenses and you're using 600, and so you're paying maintenance on all 1,000. You've got 400 surplus. You can take that maintenance contract on your 400 surplus licenses and basically get turn that into a cloud contract. So there's of course terms and conditions that are associated with that, but that's one way to address some of the commercial implications here.
So, yeah, go, Jamie.
So I know that cloud extension. What do you happen to know what all that covers? Right. So I know that there are people with predictive analysis desktop, the client side that are in a similar spot. I'm assuming Lumira Discovery or Legacy Lumira are in the same spot. Is that all right? Are there other things in there that I'm not considering?
Sure. So
perhaps you bought Explore separately or something like that?
Yeah. Well, why don't I just drill into some of the terms and conditions here of this cloud extension policy. So it doesn't matter what the on-premise software is, right? To us, it's just a maintenance contract, okay? And if you've got a maintenance contract for 1,000 licenses of X, Y, or Z, and you would rather it be reduced to 600, that's called a partial termination of maintenance. And partial terminations of maintenance is not something that we typically allow. However, when you use a cloud extension policy to replace the terminated maintenance with a new cloud subscription, then that's something that we do allow, right? And the product level restrictions are actually found on the cloud side. Only certain cloud products qualify for the cloud extension policy, and SAP Analytics Cloud is one of them. If a customer wants to terminate some maintenance on SAP Business Suite and recycle that into SAP Analytics Cloud, they can do it, right?
So with Lumira, right, the legacy version of it got better and better and better, and then we changed direction, right? And I actually really agreed with the direction we changed it to. I thought it was a far more beautiful user experience. I loved that it looked, smelled and felt like the cloud version of it, right? So that it was, sort of that new look, feel experience that we expected. One concern I've had and have heard quite a bit is how ready for prime time is the cloud, right? So I know it's been out for a couple years, but I know that it took a long time for the original Lumira to get to where it was going. I mean, is the cloud something where people can rely on it? Like, how many customers are up on it? What are our success stories with it at scale?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, and we are there is no going back from the cloud. We're 100% committed to SAP Analytics Cloud for the data discovery use case. And just kind of rewinding back to another question that that was asked, about the lack, I think by Clint, about the lack of migration tools. I mean, we have no intention to migrate Webby or Crystal content to SAP Analytics Cloud. Okay, so that's for the reporting use case, and we anticipate customers to use a combination of SAP Analytics Cloud and Webby and Crystal on-premise to create that holistic analytics solution. So we're going to be combining that. The missing piece that combines both of those elements together is called SAP Analytics Hub. So Analytics Hub is the single place to go to for end users to find analytics, whether it's on-premise Webby or whether it's SAP Analytics Cloud Stories or whether it's Tableau on-prem, and then launch those. It's really just a specialized portal for analytics. So this hybrid strategy of combining Analytics Hub as the analytics catalog with Analytics Cloud for data discovery and predictive and planning, and on-premise Business Objects BI for reporting, dashboards, and analytic apps and Office integration. That's really the holistic strategy here that we're looking at. So I wanted to make sure that I covered that off.
Can we pause there? Can we,
yeah.
So here's the tough love mate's opinion, right?
Yeah.
So Analytics Cloud is sexy when you demo it. When you actually get under the nuts and the modeling, it's really, really. I haven't looked at it for 2 months because December holidays. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to work with. I get the strategy in terms of Analytics Hub. I get that. Like, I understand what you're trying to do, but every feature you look at, roadmap, planned, roadmap, oh, it's coming, it's planned. Obviously SAP has made a very bold move here. How quickly are these things actually going to ramp up so that I can, hand on heart, go to my customer saying, okay, you are going to do this, this is going to work, it is going to scale? Because, I mean, Analytics Hub is a great idea, but everything seems to be on the roadmap, everything seems to be planned. I guess, where's the shift from development gone so that can actually get up to the standard where it needs to be?
Oh, the shift's been happening for a while, and yeah, I mean, we have over 1,000 customers, 500 partners, and we've sold some extremely large deals last year to very large, well-known cloud companies with tens of thousands of users. So, like, there is no debate about, will it scale? It will, right? So absolutely, this thing is going to scale. And I get your comment about the roadmap in terms of, functionality, and there's certain aspects of it that are very polished, and there's others that are maybe less polished, and I think you're pointing to is kind of the modeling experience, which could use a bit more polish. And we get that, right? We know. And that's those are areas of investment for us as we want to round it out and just make it a great experience for every user, not just the end user. So yeah, I mean, like any product, there's a lot of elements there that are on the roadmap that we need to polish it off. But I think what I want to do is just kind of pull back to what is really the core innovation of Analytics Cloud. And, it's that holistic combination of BI and predictive and planning, and that is what allows Analytics Cloud to do things that other competitors simply cannot conceive of doing, right? And it's that ability to do things like, create a CFO-approved plan for your income statement, right? And then do simulations on that plan and say, okay, well, what if, I increase headcount in Australia by 5% because, too many employees are knocking off work early to go surfing. Sorry.
That's a real use case for some companies.
I can't see a use case for that one person. Yeah.
I can't see it, no. I know that never happened.
Yeah.
That never happened.
No, never.
So, the fact that we've got that planning engine embedded allows us to do simulations with the actual planning model that was used, right? So, meanwhile, the BI-only competitors are still staying in their BI-focused lane, right? And that's all they do is BI. And meanwhile, we're looking at these wonderfully powerful combinations and synergistic combinations of planning and BI, just sort of native comparisons of actuals versus plan, of predictive in BI, right? What are the key influencers that influence this measure, right? So these are the kinds of things that I think are make for a really compelling foundation of SAP Analytics Cloud. And these are the big, hard problems to solve that are already there. So I just want to make sure that when we're talking about the roadmap and polish on certain aspects of Analytics Cloud, that we don't forget the foundation on which it's built.
So just sorry, on Analytics Hub as well, you alluded to that you can link to a Tableau. Because what's going to happen in a lot of my customers are going to keep, obviously they'll keep Crystal and Webby running in the platform because it's there. A lot of investment. They might go to a Tableau or Click, but the problem once again for the end user experience is coming in through two different interfaces. So either integrate to a short SharePoint or portals. When are you looking from an Analytics Hub perspective to have the ability to have multiple front-end tools where end user can access?
So that's available now. So Analytics Hub is intended to solve that problem, Clint, of discovering analytics. And this is why I love Analytics Hub. Is it's such a simple problem, it's such a pervasive problem. We've sold some enormous deals in less than 3 months on Analytics Hub because customers get it. They see the problem that it solves, they see the solution that we offer, they're like, and most importantly, they listen to the price. I mean, it's like single-digit euro per user per month. And then they're like, I need that, right? So we think it's filling a big hole in the marketplace right now. It's meeting a need. And also, and just as importantly, it's a real hub, if you will, of our hybrid strategy, because it does allow for those combinations of on-premise and cloud-based analytics. So it really enables that transition from on-premise to cloud to happen at the customer's pace, and recognizing the fact that, like you said, you got your government organizations that they're not doing anything in the cloud, and that's fine, right? There's still an opportunity for Analytics Hub there, because Analytics Hub doesn't store any data, right? All it stores is metadata about the report. So it's just basically a link catalog. So we store the links to the on-premise solutions or the cloud solutions and include a bunch of value-added metadata there on top of that. Make it searchable, make it easy to find those analytics, and then it's your launch pad for analytics of any type. So yeah, that's really the problem that Analytics Hub solves, and that's one of the reasons why I really like it.
So I have a couple thoughts, and it's really about, so you've talked a lot about use case, right? So when we talk about Analytics Hub, it's around people who need to go and search for where certain pockets of data are. When you talk about, data discovery, right, those are really your high-end analysts, which is a very small portion of your population. My concern is that, like, I consider both of those in terms of my entire analytics and reporting investment to be very edge use cases, right? So the majority of my users are going to be running Webby. They're going to be running Crystal. My executives are not doing their own data discovery, right? They're going to be looking at interactive dashboards and things like that. If you're telling me that I need to buy something for these edge use cases, it does not make to Clint's point earlier, right, as well, if I'm looking for this use case, I'm going to open the books and I'm going to look for what is best today for this use case, right? Are you doing anything to look out and say, okay, how do we make it so that everybody still wants to, stay with us for the whole breadth of it, right? Because if I'm investing in the cloud, half the point of that is I want to stop investing in on-premise, right? I don't want to have to maintain my own BO. And that to me does not mean, I don't have to maintain my servers. I just get to go, host it on Amazon, but I'm still maintaining it, right? Do you have plans, I guess is what I'm really asking, when are, the functionality that Designer meets, that developed IT-based, really specific guided analysis application, are those going to be in cloud? Will there be a reporting solution in cloud, even if it's not necessarily Webby Crystal as we know it? Like, what is going on with those use cases for you?
Okay, yeah, good question. So yeah, just to clarify the use case for Analytics Hub, Analytics Hub solves the problem of how do I find applications or how do I find my analytics, right? So if your users don't have a problem in finding your analytics, if they can find everything they need, then you don't need Analytics Hub, okay? But when it comes to the other use cases, it's good you brought that up, because when we released Lumira 2.0, we combined Lumira Designer and Lumira Discovery on a single platform. So a lot of your listeners are probably wondering, okay, what's happening with Lumira Designer for the analytic application and dashboard use case? So that continues to be our primary solution for analytic apps and dashboards. All right. We are adding that to the Analytics Cloud roadmap for an initial release in mid this year, but we will continue to innovate in Lumira Designer for the foreseeable future on-premise. Okay.
So can you qualify that a little bit and tell me a little bit more about what that means? So we'll be able to build our own dashboards in the cloud. We will not be migrating our existing Lumira Designer content to the cloud. Is that
correct?
Right? Or will we publish our on-premise stuff up there?
Yeah, no, there's at this time there's no content level compatibility between Lumira Designer, Discovery, and the cloud. Okay. However, there is data level compatibility. So certainly all the data sources that Lumira Designer and Discovery access, whether it's HANA, BW, or Universes, can be accessed from the cloud in both by both acquiring the data and through live access, which is what I think most organizations want, is the live access. And the analytic application capability that is going to have an initial release in the middle of the year is going to be, deeply integrated into Analytics Cloud. And a consistent theme about what we're trying to do here with Analytics Cloud is we're trying to solve some of the problems that have long plagued the on-premise Business Objects BI platform, which has grown up through acquisition. There's a number of acquired products. There's a couple of in-house built products. They all integrate with the BI platform. What we're trying to prevent as we invest in the cloud is bringing all of that history with us to the cloud, and we miss an opportunity to rethink analytics and integrate everything in a more holistic manner. Okay, so we're prioritizing that rethink of analytics and over and above compatibility with existing formats. Okay.
Blair, sorry.
So
don't want to put you on the line here with Designer, but the way I read the release and the FAQs is obviously with that functionality moving into cloud in the middle of this year, and it states there that development on the Mirror Designer will be for 2018 and 2019. For now, I mean, that's the plan. Is it safe to assume, the way I read things between the line, that Designer's development might realistically end of 2019 and it's all going to move to the cloud, considering it's a cloud-first strategy, or is it too early to tell?
It's definitely too early to tell, and I don't blame you for attempting to read between the lines there. But when you look at the degree of adoption with Lumira Discovery and Lumira Designer, the depth of the adoption of Designer far exceeds that of Discovery. Okay. Yeah. So we have more customers, bigger deployments on Designer, so the answer is very different, okay, in terms of what is our roadmap going forward. And that's why we're clearly saying in the roadmap we plan to continue to invest in customer-driven enhancements to Designer, even while we continue to build out that use case in Analytics Cloud. Okay.
But you can understand the customers are slightly paranoid that that's going to go as well. That's where, the feedback I'm getting is like, will they kill Discovery? Oh, surely they kill Designer. Do we invest here? Or do we, that's the apprehension, I think.
Yeah, so in fairness, they killed Explorer and dashboards 5 years ago when they rolled out Lumira, and I still create those every day. So that does bring us to, yeah. That does bring us to our next point, though, which is talk to me about end of life, right? So I think that I don't know what the end of life for the BI platform was official before this announcement.
2022.
Right. Or 2024, I thought.
Now it's 2024.
Okay. So, talk to me a little bit about that. Reassure me, comfort me, make me sleep at night. I know that official support for dashboards and Explorer end at the end of 2020, which, I mean, if you've needed support on those things for the last several years, most of it is just reboot until it works anyway. I mean, is that where we're going into for the platform, or do you think that on-premise, for at least the platform pieces and the Webby and the reporting and Crystal are going to continue for a while? Like, I mean, it says 2024 now. Will it realistically be 2035 or something?
Sure. So yeah, great questions, and you bring up a lot of important parts. Let me start with the Explorer and dashboard stuff right away. So I'll start by defining what is meant by end of life, because I think it's
important. Sorry, carry on.
So end of life is when we no longer support the product, okay? So we will no longer issue patches. We will no longer accept support calls, okay? Customers of an end of life product can continue to use it. We're not going to force it because, that's the nature of the on-premise license and maintenance business. When you buy your license, that is a perpetual license. You own that license forever. But end of life means there's no more releases and there's no more support provided. So as we trend towards end of life, there's usually two phases. There's mainstream maintenance, and then there's priority one maintenance. Mainstream maintenance is where we will address all levels of defects and support questions. And we will issue corrections on priority 1, priority 2, priority 3 level defects, and there's probably even more. But when we enter priority 1 maintenance, then priority 1 means production down. Okay, so we will issue corrections for production down situations when a product's in priority 1 maintenance, but that's it. So when we look at Explorer and Dashboards, those two products were heavily dependent on Flash. And in the case of Explorer, we have...
And also were the two greatest business intelligence tools of their time. I want that noted. Officially.
Yes, noted. So Adobe has announced the end of life of Flash. So Adobe is going to cease to support and make the Flash player available for distribution. And in fact, it's that second point, no more Flash player downloads, that is really quite significant. So that happens at the end of 2020. So obviously we can't continue to support, these products if the core technology on which they're built is no longer supported. So that's why we're announcing the end of life for Explorer and Dashboards at the end of 2020. Now, when it comes to the BI platform and Crystal and Webby, because all three of those things share the same end-of-life dates, okay? We are also announcing a 2-year extension to both the end of mainstream maintenance and the end of priority 1 maintenance for both of those products. So end of mainstream maintenance is now end of 2022, end of priority 1 maintenance is now the end of 2024. And just to reassure you, Jamie, because I want to make sure you sleep well at night, even the SAP Business Suite has an end of maintenance date of 2025, okay? So the reason we have these things is like no corporation can commit to open-ended maintenance until infinity, right? But what we've done is extended that out to a solid 7 years from now, okay? And we'll continue to evaluate it on a regular basis. And if there's additional updates are required, we can. The interesting thing internally is we can never pull it back, right? We can never make it sooner than what it is, right? That's an internal policy of ours. But we can always push it out, right? So those are the maintenance dates now for BI 4.2, and what that means in terms of our BI 4.2 plan is at the end of this year, we're going to look at the need for a 4.3 release. And our plan for this year is we're going to deliver 2 support packages on the 4.2 platform. There's going to be an SP7 and an SP8, or is it SP6? I can't remember exactly what the current number is. SP6 and SP7. Yeah, okay, right. 5 is current one. So there's going to be an SP6, BI 4.2 SP6 in the middle of the year, and then a BI 4.2 SP7 at the end of the year. And the key theme in these service packs is to accelerate the delivery of our hybrid strategy. Okay, so we're going to be doing some interesting things here to more tightly integrate Hub, Analytics Cloud, and BOE on-premise so they work together more seamlessly. So that it's easier, for example, to maintain a single user repository from a single tool, and you don't have to duplicate users everywhere. So there's better support for SAML across the board so that your SAML identity provider can serve both Analytics Cloud, Analytics Hub, and BOE on-prem. And interestingly, there's features in the Webby roadmap to allow Analytics Cloud to access data in Webby documents. So if you have a lot of business value calculations that are defined in your Webby documents, you can recycle those and access those from within an Analytics Cloud story. So those
We're
are the
not
kinds
calling
of,
that Live Office Cloud, are we?
Would you like us to?
I think
No.
we're not calling that Live Office Cloud, are we? Okay.
Yeah, no, we're not. But would you like us to? I mean, I could put in a special request for you.
No.
Yeah.
I'll fix it in the Analytics Hub, right? I can add that to my metadata?
Yeah, like direct publish from the BI platform to Analytics Hub.
Just create a folder called Getty documents, and then you can link it to a Webby document sitting on premise, calling using the DCP, hitting, I don't know, a Sybase IQ, so you've got to throw that in. What's a podcast around that?
That sounds like
me.
a very, very tall sandwich of software.
So Jamie, I mean, it's way too early in my day to be reflective of drinking. But the way as a long-time business logistics professional, which I think hopefully most of our audience are, the way I look at it and the way I interpret it from a personal career perspective and as a partner is, well, there are two parts. You either adapt as always, or you become Polaroid or you become the mainframe guy who is going to be that guy that no one speaks to, that will look after these platforms till death do us part, I guess. Because I mean, the reality is I think SAP have been very strong in terms of what they want to do, and none of us are going to change that. It's either shift with the times and shift with innovation, or become the mainframe guy. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, so I think that what SAP is doing makes a ton of sense for SAP, right? And by extension, a lot of their customers, right? I mean, obviously, customers are one of their biggest stakeholders, and they're not going to do anything that directly negatively impacts the most of them, right? I'm sure that there will be those of us out there who will have become emotionally attached to Lumira and some of the other tools that will have a hard time getting over it. But by and large, I think that this is where the market's going. I think that the biggest thing that I worry about from a customer perspective, right, is that I know I'm going to have to maintain Crystal and Webby for the foreseeable future, right? I'm going to have to put resources on that. That is not going away. The cloud does not solve me having to have those resources, right? The Analytics Hub makes it easier for some of my end users to deal with stuff, but I still need those resources. The other thing is that I feel like if you were an IT department that had been really championing Lumira or Explorer or whatever, I feel like you are probably losing the battle to direct what end users are going to do, right? So for a long time, right, the Tableaus, the Clicks, the Power BIs, more so the Tableaus and the Clicks, have really been coming from the business side, right? Somebody from your business has attended a webinar where XYZ Corporation has solved the exact same problem they had with Tableau, right? Now, when you've been in the BI game for a long time, you know that it's not a tool problem, right? It's, well, they happened to solve it with that problem, but it was really, you had to understand the data and where it was coming from and clean it and make it usable and present it in a way that was meaningful and all that stuff, right? And you can do that in any tool. All the tools are great now, right? What I see the problem is I have, and others have been going to their customers and saying, no, we should use Lumira, right? It's going to be great. It's already included. This is our low-cost option, and it's going to be there for forever because it's SAP's, right? Now, because that is kind of going away, I'm going to have a hard time, I think, and others will, going to their business and saying, yes, you should go with SAP Cloud because that's what they're saying. And I think that's a harder argument to have now, right? So I think if you were fortunate enough to be in a situation where, as an IT shop, you could say, nope, we do SAP and that's all we do, I don't know that you will continue to have that option. I mean, is that a fair statement? Are you hearing things like that, either of you?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of reality with any sort of change in direction and change of focus, right? So this one would be no different, and yeah, certainly, everyone on this podcast has advocated Lumira in the past, right? I mean, I think. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're all feeling that a little bit too. So, You know, I may have had the benefit of a little bit more time than you guys to sort of digest the new roadmap and the direction in that. Yeah, I mean, certainly I've come to terms with it, and more than that, I see the benefit, and especially the long-term benefit of it, because you know, by making Analytics Cloud sort of the default analytics solution for SAP Cloud apps, right, as well as, you know, and there's tens of thousands of customers of Concur and Ariba and SuccessFactors and Hybris, right? Tens of thousands of customers, like orders of magnitude more than there are current business objects customers today, right? So this opens up kind of a massive market opportunity, right? To expand the reach of SAP Analytics, and also to just simplify SAP's offerings across the board. It's a pivot around the data discovery use case, right? And it's a pivot to a hybrid future, right? Because, you know, nobody believes that things are going to suddenly be 100% cloud now, ongoing forever, right? There's always going to be a combination of cloud and on-prem, and Business Objects continues to have the world's greatest on-premise BI platform, and we're going to take advantage of that with Analytics Cloud and link to that and turn it into the world's greatest hybrid platform. And hook it up into the broad SAP ecosystem as well. So there's much more opportunity now than what we had before in terms of just the broad-based you know, definition of data discovery. And that brings me to you know, a question you guys asked earlier in terms of reporting. And as we talk about Analytics Cloud becoming the default solution for SAP Cloud applications, that's going to drive some lightweight reporting requirements into Analytics Cloud. So we have no intention of turning Analytics Cloud into the next Webby or Crystal Reports. It will never be that. But we will have to add some reporting capabilities just so that we can meet the requirements of those SAP Cloud applications that are going to be embedding us and are looking to Analytics Cloud for, you know, reporting type use cases.
Jamie, just thinking out loud, which, as you know, is generally pretty dangerous. But maybe it'd be a good idea to have a follow-up session in terms of, you know, what should get us excited about Analytics Hub as well as Analytics Cloud. You know, just to say, well, it is what it is, the news is broken, deal with it. If we're an on-prem customer, you know, whether it's you, Blair, or Garrett, or whoever can drive that with us, let's talk about how we're going to get there in a smooth way. Just an idea.
You know, I think that's a fantastic idea, because I think probably like most people, you know, I looked at Analytics Cloud when it first came out, and I knew at the time, you know, the modeling was rough, like we've talked about, but that it looked great, right? And so I think that it makes a lot of sense to reevaluate it in terms of this latest news and figure out where we are and how far it's come and what the offering really is now as opposed to when we first heard about it. And I know we've been on here for a while, so I'd like to bring us to a wrap. I would like for each of you to think about a bright side, because, you know, some of this has been, you know, the death of Lumiere and things, so we should finish on a high note. I will go first. The thing that I'm excited about out of this announcement is that even though we are transitioning to the cloud, SAP will predict my fantastic Lumira content that I've already created until at least 2024. It truly is kind of a blessing, right? If you deal with some vendors, you don't get nearly that much roadmap to come up with a plan and rebuild what you need to rebuild. So that's mine. Who's ready? Another bright side.
Blair?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, I mentioned this earlier in the call, and I'll repeat it again. The Business Objects BI platform has done a great job over the years with a collection of disparate tools that were built and also acquired, right? And it's a credit to the BI platform that it's been able to integrate all those and wrap it with a common set of security and that. But at the same time, that's created, unfortunately, some seams between common use cases. And Analytics Cloud not only solves that problem of seams for BI use cases, it solves a problem of seams between BI and predictive and BI and planning. And, this is, we have not even explored what is possible with that broader, more holistic definition of analytics. So I think that to me is the kind of the new future, which I think is going to be very powerful and result in some incredible outcomes for Analytics Cloud customers.
Bright side for me is, like anyone, it's great to learn new technology. I'm pretty, it is what it is, but the world is moving cloud, so I'm pretty excited to get my hands into some new tech. And also, more importantly, and very, very selfishly, cloud equals remote, and that means I can spend more time on the beach, so at home. So that's a very positive for a road warrior like me.
I don't know, Clint, you're a little old to be learning new stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, no, but with 7 years left, and then you just need to put me down gracefully. Maybe a natural, I don't know.
Well, with that, we'll bring this podcast to a close. Clint, thanks so much for joining me. Blair, thanks so much for joining us and giving your take. And Eric Ballard, who would normally join us, is sick with the man flu tonight, so we hope he feels better. Good night, boys.
Good
night. See you guys.
This podcast is hosted and sponsored by EV Technologies. Visit us on the net at SaveTheCMS.com.
Can't trust that. D-Slayer!